Law, YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, Barakatah YAHAWAH. Shalom, everybody. It's your brother Obadiayahing, coming to you again with another lesson. Thanking the Most High YAHAWAH in all his blessings and all his love, protection, and wisdom. I'm going to say salutations to all of the Akim and the Akwab out there listening and learning. And of course, salutations to those great apostles that have brought us so much information and knowledge through the Ruach HaKodesh, which is so well received by those of us who are awake. And we just pray that the elect will get an opportunity to receive what these apostles are given. And the only apostles I know of that have been truthful in terms of what they've been providing and actually called apostles are the apostles of GMS. They are renowned in what they are doing, and they are very blessed. And on that note, we just want to make sure we say salutations to them because they definitely deserve some credit and a lot of love and respect for the things that they have been doing. And as a lot of the brethren in Akim say, they want to give them honors, and that's well received for them. I was inspired by listening to several of the apostles, Apostle Har, Apostle Gabar, Ramlet, Apostle Ramlet. All the elder apostles have been doing some exceptionally great jobs in terms of bringing us information on current events and things that are prophetically happening. Of course, Apostle Har coined the phrase that 2020 will be the year of prophecy, and so true to that point all the way down the line. So obviously got to know that that particular man is blessed of the Most High, and he has been steadfast in the truth. So you need to look him up, you need to check him out, you need to listen to what he's telling you, because he's getting you there if you are supposed to be there. Got a lesson today that the Ruach HaKodesh came upon me and brought the spirit to me of the Most High YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, and gave me a title that's been working on my mind. And I saw this movie. You know, I would consider myself to be old school to a major degree. I don't have to drop any numbers in terms of names and how old and what have you. I know that people will be like, well, what are you saying? Anyway, there was a movie came out by James Baldwin called I'm Not Your Negro. And I'm going to show some of that because it works into the lesson as well as the information that the Most High in Ruach HaKodesh presented to me to bring to the people, and especially to the elect of Israel mainly, and also to those that have to hear this awakening. So I'm hoping that this will work well, and you know the transmission will be fine. You know, Esau's been messing with everybody's page and their communication and their media, and I'm not immune to that as well. I'm getting slammed like everyone else is. And as my brother always says, Amadabad, the damn red devils, man, them damn red cave beasts, they always doing some stuff. But anyway, we want to get into this. The title of this lesson today is Living in the Hell of a Dead Heaven. Living in the hell of a dead heaven. How about that, right? That's what the title that the Most High gave me in reference to where we are right now, going through the transitional prophetic process that's happening. And I've been getting a lot of feedback and information through the Spirit about things that are on the way and transpired. One of the things that I've been given, I don't have full out total information on it as of yet, but the Most High has been putting in my spirit the number 19, and he's been saying to me, Ruach HaKodesh, she's been saying, you got 19 months. You got 19 months. I don't know exactly what that means just yet. I'm waiting for more correspondence from the Royal Caucasish through YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI to determine what that 19 months is, but I'm getting a feeling that we have about 19 months before total destruction and disaster would be upon this particular earthly plane, in reference to how Esau Edom is pushing his agenda of wickedness and looking to try to touch the elect and the children and the community of the Hebrew Israelites in general. We can clearly see it mapping up to that, but I'm just getting 19. I got Isaiah chapter 19. I know that has a lot to do with it, but I don't have all of it yet. All the scriptures have not been given. All the precepts have not been put forth, but I'm getting 19. So let's just make sure we pay attention to that for stay tuned to the next lesson. But again, like I said, our lesson today is living in the hell of a dead heaven. And it has a lot to do with where we are right now, because this particular time right now is Esau's heaven. And man, it's hell for Jake's awake and Jake's asleep. Okay, it's hell. And this movie that I'm going to show some information from, I'm Not Your Negro, is going to depict a lot of that. Now it's going to go back, and it's going to look back on some times from back in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and on up to some current times. I can't play all of it because it is rather lengthy. It's an hour 33. We can't get all that in because I got to get scriptures in, and I got to make sure that you get what's going on. And it's got to be scripture based, because it doesn't work if you can't relate your scriptures. Okay, so the first place we're going to go in scripture to talk about living in the hell of this dead heaven, we just gonna go. I got down. We're gonna go straight to John chapter 8, and we're gonna look at verse 44, which talks about who is taking us to hell in this dead heaven on this earth. Okay, because heaven's wherever the Most High is in terms of his level of heaven, but this earth has a heavenly plane, and the God of this heaven here is given to the left side, which would be the spiritual demon Satan and all his seed line and his derivatives that he has here, and here they are. John chapter 8 and verse 44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh, he lie. He speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. So that kind of tells you right off the bat who's doing what to who and how it's being done. And pretty much the whole world is now seeing that this Esau Edom individual and his lineage, they're liars, and he's a liar, and he's the father of it, and you are your fathers, because that's scriptural, and that's what Yahweh has sent back these spirits that are these damn devils and these liars. Okay, we're going to Psalms 55 for our next precept. Psalms 55, and we're going to verse 15. Psalm 55, verse 15. Okay, and it says, where am I at? Let death seize upon them, and let them go down quick unto hell, for wickedness is their dwellings, and among them. So it says that this is who we're dealing with. This is the wicked who we are absolutely dealing with, and this is what we're going. I mean, we're talking about. It says, let them. It says, let death seize upon them, and let them go down quick unto hell, for wickedness is their dwellings, and among them. You see, so they basically tell you, let death steal over, let death steal over them, and let them go down to hell alive. See, this is who we're dealing with, man. This is who we're dealing with big time. So that was Psalms 55. Now we're going to go to Psalms 9:17. Go to Psalms chapter 9, and we're going to go to verse 17. So go with me. Psalms 9 and 17. All right, as soon as we get there, I'm almost dark. All right, 9, I got it, and 17. Okay, where is it? Wait a minute, Shalaki. Okay, all right. So the wicked shall return to hell, all the nations that forgot Yahawah. The wicked shall return to hell, all the nations that forgot Yahawah. All right. The next precept we're going to is Isaiah chapter 66:24. So go with me to Isaiah 66:24. Next. All right. These are all fitting into what I'm speaking about in reference to living in a hell of a dead heaven. All right. 66. Shalaki. 66 and 24. Okay. Okay. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, Yahweh says, right? For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. So that was precept 66 and 24. Okay. Then we're going to go to well, I just did Shalaki. I did Psalms 9:17, which was the wicked shall return to hell, and the nations that forget Yahawah. 5, we're going to go to Proverbs chapter 11, verse 9. Okay, so go with me to Proverbs 11:9. All right. Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 9, right? 12 and 11 here, and 9. Shalaki. All right. The righteous is delivered out of trouble, and the wicked cometh in his stead. And that was 8. I just hit 8 first. And hypocrite with his mouth destroyeth his neighbor, but through knowledge shall the just be delivered. So I wanted to make sure we got that one in. And that was Proverbs chapter 11, verse 9. Then we're going to go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 9. Okay? 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 9. 2 Thessalonians 1, verse 9. So go with me there. We pull that scripture. Shalaki. I'm just trying to get in a big old Bible here. You know how it is. You got a big old Bible. Ah, there we go. 2 Thessalonians. Verse. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 9. Who shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of Yahawah and from the glory of his power? 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 verse 9. Who shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of Yahawah and from the glory of his power? And we see who's getting punished. Jacob's trouble was the last lesson I did, a different take on it in terms of the current event situation where Jakes are going to be punished. People who call themselves black, people who reject the Most High's heritage and reject his word, no matter who they are, awake or not, they will be punished. And this also, 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 verse 9 speaks to that as well, which lets you know that is absolutely correct. Okay, the next precept we're going to go to is 1 Peter 4:17. And actually, because punishment starts with the house of the Most High's children first before it starts anywhere else. The Most High always starts with us first. We've been getting our tail kicked, for our ass kicked for a long time here. So we're going to 1 Peter chapter 4. All right, so go there with me, and we are going to be reading verse 17. And for the Shalaki. For the time is come, the judgment must begin at the house of Yahawah, the house of power. And if it first begin with us Hebrew Israelites, and those jakes that are supposed to be part of the kingdom and the community of the Hebrew Israelites, what shall the end be for them that obey not the gospel of YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI of our power? So you know what I'm saying? 1 Peter chapter 4:17 tells you he's kicking our tail, and been kicking our tail, but we're coming out of it. And next is what's coming up is what's going to happen to Esau Edom and his cohorts, and that's what they're going to get. Okay, the next precept we're going to get after we took on 1 Peter 14 is we're going to go to Exodus chapter 23:32, because we're not supposed to be making any covenants with these people, and this is what the mistake that they're making right now by trying to get into all this election stuff and want to be voting and trying to think that they're going to bring this wicked kingdom back. The Most High is not letting this wicked kingdom come back up, and they are sadly mistaken if they think that that's the case. But they want to go vote, they want to get this Kamala Harris in, and all these other people thinking that this is going to switch things around. They're not going to give you equality in this wicked kingdom, and why would you want it? Why would you want to be equally wicked with them when you know the Most High hates wickedness? He hates the wicked every day. So why would you want to be equally wicked in this wicked queendom? This is not what he wants you to have. He wants you to come out of it. And if you don't come out of it, you have to suffer his wrath, which is what he's bringing. So this is why he said don't make no covenants with them, because this is what you will do. You will start worshiping what they're worshiping, and then that brings destruction upon you. This is Exodus chapter 23, verse 32. Exodus 23, verse 32. This is what we're reading. So if you're there, pick it up, because we're going to hit it. Okay, 23:32. And it says, thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. In other words, don't be pledge allegiance to nothing. Don't be pledging to nobody else. Don't be getting into these wicked societies and stuff, trying to become some Hellenistic, Greekish people running around thinking you are Alpha, Kappa, or whatever the hell. All that's wickedness, and Most High don't want it. Okay, because they shall not dwell in thy land, lest thee make thee sin, Shalaki, against me, Yahweh said. For if thou serve their gods, it will surely be a snare unto thee. So and a snare means it's a trap, and you will perish from a trap that you're trapped in. Okay, and that was Exodus chapter 23:32. Next, we're going back to John chapter 5, verse 29. So going back with me, going back to John. Okay, and we're going to chapter 5, and we're going to hit verse 29. Okay, so bear with me, back there to it. 5:29, and it reads, shall I make sure I got it? And come out forth they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. So we're getting pummeled and just completely destroyed by the left hand Esau Edom wickedness that the Most High set up to chastise his people. And this is what you see happening. But it says we could come out, and then they get to go in to the judgment and the punishment. And that's what we got coming. But we got to come out. Okay? And that's the only way we're going to come out is if we go back to these law, statutes, commandments. All right, next we're going to go to 1 Baruch chapter 25. So if you got your Apocrypha, pull it out, because we're going to be going to 1 Baruch chapter 1, verse, 1 Baruch chapter 4. 1 Baruch chapter 4, verse 25. Okay? My children, suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you, for Yahawah, your power, and your enemy has persecuted you. For shortly you shall see his destruction, and shall tread upon his neck. 26. My delicate ones have gone rough ways, and were taken away as a flock caught of the enemies. See, that's what I'm talking about in terms of, you know, living in a hell of a dead heaven. Okay, all right. 27. Be of good comfort, though, O my children, and cry unto Yahawah power, for ye shall be remembered of him that brought these things upon you. See, the Most High controls both sides, the left and the right hand side. He's controlling it all. Okay, brought it upon you. 28. For as it was your mind to go astray from Yahawah, so being returned, seek him 10 times more. For he has brought these plagues upon you, and shall bring you everlasting joy with your Yahawashi. Take a good heart, O Jerusalem, for he that gave you that name will comfort you. Okay? So the Most High will bring us out, but we got to go back to his law, statutes, and commandments in order for that to happen. Okay, so that was 11. And that basically gives me the precepts before we can start the rest of this that I want you to look at from, like I said, the movie's called I'm Not Your Negro. I'm going to play some of it. You're going to see how we have been living in a hell that is Esau Edom's dead heaven. So bear with me, and let's get to this, and let's check this out. And I want you to really get a good picture of what's getting ready to go down on us. Okay? Move it forward a little bit. Okay, here we go.
Remarked that, what are the Negroes, why aren't they optimistic? They say, but it's getting so much better. There are Negro mayors. There's Negroes in all of sports. There are Negroes in politics. They're even accorded the ultimate accolade of being in television commercials now. And, I'm glad you're smiling. Is it at once getting much better and still hopeless?
Well, I don't think there's much hope for it, to tell you the truth. As long as people are using this peculiar language. It's not a question of what happens to the Negro here, to the black man here. That's a very vivid question for me, But the real question is what's going to happen to this country. I have to repeat that.
You down right, I got the blue. From my head down to my shoe. You down right, I got the blue. From my head down to my shoe.
June 30th, 1979. My dear Jay, I'll confess to you that I am writing the enclosed proposal in a somewhat divided frame of mind. The summer has scarcely begun, and I feel already that it's almost over. And I will be 55. Yes, 55 in a month. I am about to undertake the journey. And this is a journey, to tell you the truth, which I always knew that I would have to make, but had hoped, perhaps, and certainly hadn't hoped not to have to make so soon. I am saying that a journey is called that because you cannot know what you will discover on the journey, what you will do with what you find, or what you find will do to you.
don't not only have a right to be free, we have a duty to be free. And so when you sit down on the bus and you sit down in the front or you sit down by a white person, you're sitting down because you have a duty to sit down, not merely because you have a right.
The time of these lives and deaths from a public point of view is 1955, when we first heard of Martin, to 1968, when he was murdered. Medgar was murdered in the summer of 1963. Malcolm was murdered in 1965.
Yeah, take my hand, precious Lord, lead me on, let me stand. I'm tired, I done leave, I done move.
The three men, Medgar, Malcolm, and Martin, were very different men. Consider that Martin was only 26 in 1955. He took on his shoulders the weight of the crimes and the lies and the hope of a nation.
Shalaki,
I
but
want these
none of
three
them
lives to bang
are
against and
saving
reveal each other.
Hebrew Israelites.
That's the truth they did.
None of them are saving
They used
Hebrew
their fateful
Israelites.
journey as a means of instructing the people
Only
whom
YAHAWAH
they loved
BAHASHAM
so much,
YAHAWASHI.
who betrayed them, and for whom they gave their lives.
The moment a Negro child walks into the school, every decent, self-respecting, loving parent should take his white child out of that parochial school.
God forgives murder and he forgives adultery, but he is very angry and he actually curses all who do interbreed.
That's when I saw the photograph. On every newspaper kiosk on that wide tree-shaped boulevard in Paris were photographs of 15-year-old Dorothy Counts being reviled and spat upon by the mob as she was making her way to school in Charlotte, North Carolina. There was unutterable pride, tension, and anguish in that girl's face as she approached the halls of learning with history jeering at her back. It made me furious. It filled me with both hatred and pity, and it made me ashamed. Some one of us should have been there with her. But it was on that bright afternoon that I knew I was leaving France. I could simply no longer sit around Paris discussing the Algerian and the Black American problem. Everybody else was paying their dues, and it was time I went home and paid mine.
If you was white, you'd be alright. If you was brown, you stick around. But as you black, oh brother, get back, get back, get back. They went to reform the office, the number I got in line. They called everybody's number, but they never did call mine. They said, if you was white, you'd be alright. If you was brown, stick around. But as you black, oh brother.
I had at last come home. If there was in this some illusion, there was also much truth. In the years in Paris, I had never been homesick for anything American. Neither waffles, ice cream, hot dogs, baseball, majorettes, movies, nor the Empire State Building, nor Coney Island, nor the Statue of Liberty, nor the Daily News, nor Times Square. All of these things had passed out of me. They might never have existed. And it made absolutely no difference to me if I never saw them again. But I missed my brothers and sisters and my mother. They made a difference. I wanted to be able to see them and to see their children. I hoped that they wouldn't forget me. I missed Harlem Sunday mornings and fried chicken and biscuits. I missed the music. I missed the style. That style possessed by no other people in the world. I missed the way the dark face closes, the way dark eyes watch, and the way when a dark face opens, a light seems to go everywhere. I missed, in short, my connections. Missed the life which had produced me and nourished me and paid for me. Now, though I was a stranger, I was home. I am fascinated by the movement on and off the screen. I'm about 7. I'm with my mother or my aunt. The movie is Dance, Fools Dance. I was aware that Joan Crawford was a white lady. Yet, I remember being sent to the store sometime later, and a colored woman who, to me, looked exactly like Joan Crawford was buying something. She was incredibly beautiful. She looked down at me with so beautiful a smile that I was not even embarrassed, which was rare for me. By this time, I had been taken in hand by a young white school teacher named Bill Miller, a beautiful woman, very important to me. She gave me books to read and talked to me about the books and about the world, about Ethiopia and Italy and the German Third Reich, and took me to see plays and films to which no one else would have dreamed of taking a 10-year-old boy. It is certainly because of Bill Miller, who arrived in my terrifying life so soon, that I never really managed to hate white people. Though God knows, I have often wished to murder more than one or two. Therefore, I began to suspect that white people did not act as they did because they were white, but for some other reason. I was a child, of course, and therefore unsophisticated. I took Bill Miller as she was, or as she appeared to be to me. She too, anyway, was treated like a nigger, especially by the cops, and she had no love for landlords.
Richard! Can't get him up! Richard! Can't get him up! Richard! Can't get him up! Lazy Richard can't get him up! Richard!
In these days, no one resembling my father has yet made an appearance on the American cinema scene.
Can't get him up! We'll try to get him on the phone. I was laying down dreaming.
No, it's not entirely true. There were, for example, Stephen Fetchit and Willie Best and Mantan Moreland, all of whom, rightly or wrongly, I loathed. It seemed to me that they lied about the world I knew and debased it. And certainly I did not know anybody like them, as far as I could tell. For it is also possible that their comic bug-eyed terror contained the truth concerning a terror by which I hoped never to be engulfed. Yet, I had no reservations at all concerning the terror of the black janitor and They Won't Forget.
Living in hell.
I think that it was a
Dead
black
heaven.
actor named Clinton
Look at
Roosevelt
this.
who played this
Look
part.
at this.
And he looked a little like my father. He is terrified because a young white girl in this small southern town has been raped and murdered, and her body has been found on the premises of which he is the janitor.
Come on in, Jump. Jump.
The role of the janitor is small, yet the man's face bangs in my memory until today.
Nobody says you have, Tom, but they might.
The film's icy brutality both scared me and strengthened me. Because Uncle Tom refuses to take vengeance in his own hands, he was not a hero for me. Heroes, as far as I could see, were white, and not merely because of the movies, but because of the land in which I lived, of which movies were simply a reflection. I despised and feared those heroes because they did take vengeance into their own hands. They thought vengeance was theirs to take. And yes, I understood that. My countrymen were my enemy. I suspect that all of these stories are designed to reassure us that no crime was committed. We made a legend out of a massacre.
Leaving aside all the physical facts which one can quote, leaving aside rape or murder, leaving aside the bloody catalog of oppression, which we are in one way too familiar with already, what this does to the subjugated is to destroy his sense of reality. This means, in the case of an American Negro, born in that glittering republic, and in the moment you are born, since you don't know any better, every stick and stone and every face is white, and since you have not yet seen a mirror, you suppose that you are too. It comes as a great shock around the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to discover that Gary Cooper killing off the Indians when you were rooting for Gary Cooper, that the Indians were you. It comes as a great shock to discover that the country, which is your birthplace, and to which you owe your life and your identity, has not in its whole system of reality evolved any place for you.
My dear Jay, you must, it is to be hoped, be as curious as I am concerning the execution of this book project. I know how to do it, technically. It is a matter of research and journeys. And with you or without you, I will do it anyway. I begin in September when I go on the road. The road means my return to the South. It means briefly, for example, seeing Merle Evers and the children, those children who are children no longer. It means going back to Atlanta, to Selma, to Birmingham. It means seeing Coretta Scott King and Martin's children. I know that Martin's daughter, whose name I don't remember, and Malcolm's oldest daughter, whose name is Attila, are both in the theater, and apparently are friends. It means seeing Betty Shabazz, Malcolm's widow, and the 5 younger children. It means exposing myself as one of the witnesses to the lives and deaths of their famous fathers. And it means much, much more than that. A clod of witnesses, as old St. Paul once put it. I first met Malcolm X. I saw Malcolm before I met him. I was giving a lecture somewhere in New York. Malcolm was sitting in the first row of the hall, bending forward at such an angle that his long arms nearly caressed the ankles of his long legs, staring up at me. I very nearly panicked. I knew Malcolm only by legend, and this legend, since I was a Harlem street boy, I was sufficiently astute to distrust. Malcolm might be the torch that white people claim he was, though, in general, white America's evaluations of these matters would be laughable and even pathetic, did not these evaluations have such wicked results. On the other hand, Malcolm had no reason to trust me either, and so I stumbled through my lecture, with Malcolm never taking his eyes from my face.
There's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather, since my man and I together keeps raining all the time.
As a member of the NAACP, Medgar was investigating the murder of a black man, which had occurred months before, had shown me letters from black people asking him to do this, and he had asked me to come with him.
Raise up, get yourself together. Grab that funky soul.
I was terribly frightened, but perhaps that field trip will help us define what I mean by the word witness.
Grab that funky soul.
I was to discover that the line which separates a witness from an actor is a very thin line indeed. Nevertheless, the line is real. I was not, for example, a black Muslim, in the same way, though for different reasons, that I never became a Black Panther, because I did not believe that all white people were devils, and I did not want young black people to believe that. I was not a member of any Christian congregation because I knew that they had not heard and did not live by the commandment, love one another as I love you. And I was not a member of the NAACP because in the North, where I grew up, the NAACP was fatally entangled with black class distinctions, or illusions of the same, which repelled a shoeshine boy like me. I did not have to deal with the criminal state of Mississippi hour by hour and day by day, to say nothing of night after night. I did not have to sweat cold sweat after decisions involving hundreds of thousands of lives. I was not responsible for raising money, for deciding how to use it. I was not responsible for strategy controlling prayer meetings, marches, petitions, voting registration drives. I saw the sheriffs, the deputies, the stormtroopers more or less in passing. I was never in town to stay. This was sometimes hard on my morale, but I had had to accept as time wore on that part of my responsibility as a witness was to move as largely and as freely as possible, to write the story and to get it out.
should all be concerned with but one goal, the eradication of crime. The Federal Bureau of Investigation is as close to you as your nearest telephone. It seeks to be your protector in all matters within its jurisdiction. It belongs to you.
White people are astounded by Birmingham. Black people aren't. White people are endlessly demanding to be reassured that Birmingham is really on Mars. They don't want to believe, still less to act on the belief that what is happening in Birmingham is happening all over the country. They don't want to realize that there is not one step morally or actually between Birmingham and Los Angeles.
Living in hell of a dead heaven.
Three men on the forefront of the Negro struggle to sit down and talk with us in front of the television camera. Each of these men, through his actions and his words, but with vastly different manner and means, is a spokesman for some segment of the Negro people today.
Black people in this country have been the victims of violence at the hands of the white man for 400 years. And following the ignorant Negro preachers, we have thought that it was godlike to turn the other cheek to the brute that was brutalizing us.
Malcolm X, one of the most articulate exponents of the black Muslim philosophy, has said of your movement and your philosophy that it plays into the hands of the white oppressors, that they are happy to hear you talk about love for the oppressor because this disarms the Negro and fits into the stereotype of the Negro as a meek, turning the other cheek sort of creature. Would you care to comment on Mr. X's belief?
Well, I don't think of love as, in this context, as emotional bosh. But I think of love as something strong and that organizes itself into powerful, direct action. This is what I try to teach in the struggle in the South, that we are not engaged in a struggle that means we sit down and do nothing. That there's a great deal of difference between non-resistance to evil and non-violent resistance.
Martin Luther King is just a 20th century or modern Uncle Tom or a religious Uncle Tom who is doing the same thing today to keep Negroes defenseless in the face of attack that Uncle Tom did on the plantation to keep those Negroes defenseless in the face of the attack of the Klan in that day.
I think, though, that we can be sure that the vast majority of Negroes who engage in the demonstrations and who understand the nonviolent philosophy will be able to face dogs and all of the other brutal methods that are used without retaliating with violence, because they understand that one of the first principles of nonviolence is a willingness to be the recipient of violence while never inflicting violence upon another.
As concerns Malcolm and Martin, I watched two men coming from unimaginably different backgrounds, whose positions originally were poles apart, driven closer and closer together. By the time each died, their positions had become virtually the same position. It can be said indeed that Martin picked up Malcolm's burden, articulated the vision which Malcolm had begun to see and for which he paid with his life, and that Malcolm was one of the people Martin saw on the mountaintop. Medgar was too young to have seen this happen, though he hoped for it and would not have been surprised. But Medgar was murdered first. I was older than Medgar, Malcolm, and Martin. I was raised to believe that the eldest was supposed to be a model for the younger, and was, of course, expected to die first. Not one of these three lived to be 40.
Look at these devils, man.
We need an organization that no one downtown loves. We need one that's ready and willing to take action. Any kind of action, by any means necessary.
Wrong. You gotta wait for YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI.
When Malcolm talks,
that's why they all dead.
Ministers talk, they articulate for all the Negro people who hear them, who listen to them. They articulate their suffering. The suffering which has been in this country so long denied. That's Malcolm's great authority over any of his audiences. He corroborates their reality. He tells them that they really exist, you know.
Stay back, stay back.
And there are days, this is one of them, when you wonder what your role is in this country and what your future is in it. How precisely you're going to reconcile yourself to your situation here.
You can't.
And how you're going to...
Gotta be done through YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. No Negro
heedless
of any nature or stature is going to deliver us. It's got to be YAHAWAH
white majority
to deliver us. Only Him.
That you are here. I'm terrified at the moral apathy.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5.
Which is happening in my country. These people have deluded themselves for so long that they really don't think I'm human. I base this on their conduct, not on what they say. And this means that they have become, in themselves, moral monsters.
Huh. They're monsters already. Yes, this is their heaven, and this is our hell. Huh.
Most of the white Americans I've ever encountered, really, you know, had a Negro friend or a Negro maid or somebody in high school. But they never, you know, or rarely, after school was over or whatever, you know, came to my kitchen. You know, we were segregated from the schoolhouse door. Therefore, he doesn't know. He really does not know what it was like for me to leave my house, leave school and go back to Harlem. He doesn't know how Negroes live. And it comes as a great surprise to the Kennedy brothers and to everybody else in the country. I'm certain, again, that like most white Americans I have encountered, they have I'm sure they have nothing whatever against Negroes. That's really not the question. The question is really a kind of apathy and ignorance, which is a price we pay for segregation. That's what segregation means. That you don't know what's happening on the other side of the wall because you don't want to know.
I was, in some way, in those years, without entirely realizing it, the great black hope of the great white father. I was not a racist, or so I thought. Malcolm was a racist, or so they thought. In fact, we were simply trapped in the same situation.
And you tell that to my boy.
Living in a hell
put him to
of
sleep
a dead heaven.
Couch. You tell it to him in the morning when his mother goes out of here to take care of somebody else's kids. And tell it to me when we want some curtains or some drapes and you sneak out of here and go work in somebody's kitchen. All I want is to make a future for this family. All I want is to be able to stand in front of my boy like my father never was able to do to me.
I must sketch now the famous Bobby Kennedy meeting. Lorraine Hansberry would not be very much younger than I am now if she were alive. At the time of the Bobby Kennedy meeting, she was 33. That was one of the very last times I saw her on her feet, and she died at the age of 34. I miss her so much. People forget how young everybody was. Bobby Kennedy, for another quite different example, was 38. We wanted him to tell his brother, the president, to personally escort to school on that day or the day after a small black girl already scheduled to enter Deep South school. That way, we said, it will be clear that whoever spits on that child will be spitting on the nation. He didn't understand this either. It would be, he said, a meaningless moral gesture. We would like, said Lorraine, from you a moral commitment. He looked insulted, seemed to feel that he'd been wasting his time. Well, Lorraine sat still, watching all the while. She looked at Bobby Kennedy, who perhaps for the first time looked at her. But I'm very worried, she said, about the state of the civilization which produced that photograph of the white cop standing on that Negro woman's neck in Birmingham. Then she smiled, and I am glad that she was not smiling at me. Goodbye, Mr. Attorney General, she said, and turned and walked out of the room. And then we heard the thunder. The very last time I saw Medgar Evers, he stopped at his house on the way to the airport so I could autograph my books for him, his wife, and children. I remember Merle Evers standing outside, smiling, and we waved. And Medgar drove to the airport and put me on the plane. Months later, I was in Puerto Rico, working on my play. Lucienne and I had spent a day or so wandering around the island, and now we were driving home. It was a wonderful, bright, and sunny day. Top of the car was down. We were laughing, talking, and the radio was playing. Then the music stopped, and a voice announced that Medgar Evers had been shot to death in the carport of his home, and his wife and children had seen the big man fall.
Evers was buried from the bullet he caught.
They're lowering him down as a king. But when the shadowy sun sits on the one that fires the gun, you'll see by his grave, on the stone that remains, carved next to his name, is epitaph green. Only upon in their day.
The blue sky seemed to descend like a blanket, and I couldn't say anything. I couldn't cry. I just remembered his face, a bright, blunt, handsome face, and his weariness, which he wore like his skin, and the way he said, "Road," for road. And his telling me how the tatters of clothes from a lynched body hung, flapping in the tree for days, and how he had to pass that tree every day. Medgar, gone. In America, I was free only in battle, never free to rest. And he who finds no way to rest cannot long survive the battle.
Shalaki. Well, as you can see, this movie, I'm Not Your Negro, it's a movie you can look up on YouTube. I saw it, and then Most High YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI inspired me to do a lesson on this in reference to living in a hell of a dead heaven. And as you can see, that's what it seems to be. So I hope this lesson brought some edification to you and some enlightenment. We don't think much about the past in terms of what happened. A lot of those people and individuals and those figures who took those roles were set up by YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI to fulfill what exactly they fulfilled and martyred the way they were exactly martyred. Everything is already predetermined by the Most High YAHAWAH. All of our happenings and what will happen is already etched in stone. Look the movie up. Hopefully it was a good lesson that brings some thought to you in reference to our current situation, because we are living in a hell of a dead heaven, and soon we get next. And on that note, I'm going to say shalom, and as the apostles always say, and on to the next, if the Most High wills.